Hi guys. So some of you know that I recently did a DNA test with this company called MyDNA. I did it more out of interest sake, just to see what the reports would come back with, what they would give me information-wise, so that I can pass the information on to you guys to see if it's anything that you would be interested in. So I got my report yesterday, so I've had a bit of a squiz through and tried to see specifically what information they gave me. So here it all is. So when you log onto your dashboard, which I have here, it brings up your reports. So I paid $99 and I got 3 reports done. So I got the nutrition report, the fitness report, and the caffeine report is currently included that as well. So we'll go into the nutrition one first. So this brings up your general dashboard, which just gives you a bit of an overview. It gives you an option for weight loss or for weight maintenance. So you can see that I have weight loss selected here. Not that I'm currently looking to do some weight loss, but this gives you a bit of a breakdown in terms of the macronutrient ratios that you should be trying to achieve, and then a general gist of the macros that they suggest as well. This depends on your activity levels as well. I can go into that in a bit more detail in a minute. But I'm going for weight maintenance. It tells me that based on my genetic results, what I'm looking for is a lower fat diet here. So we have high protein diets, high protein, low fats, all these different kind of diets. But the one that based on my genetic testing suggests is best for me is a lower fat diet, which is something that I kind of do anyway. So I count my macros and I track all of that. So this is suggesting that overall I have 60% carbohydrate intake, 20% protein and 20% fat, which when I look at the macros that I'm currently following is pretty similar anyway. From there, I'm not going to click on it because it kind of takes me far away from here. You can click on this one here and it takes you to a meal plan. So if you're totally unsure as to what to eat, it then breaks it all down for you. It helps you make sure that you're hitting those macros and then breaking it up nice and even throughout the day with the idea of keeping you fuller for longer and all those kinds of things. So that's the general overview. Then we're going to go into results. So this is where it breaks down a little bit more. So they have specific genes that they're looking at and they give them a traffic light colour. So green is favourable, orange is less favourable, and red is least favourable. So as they come up down the side here, you can see that I've got some favourable genes and then I've got some less favourable genes, but in my nutrition, I haven't got any least favourable genes. So let's break it down a little bit. So we have weight, appetite, and obesity here, and I can click and expand that one. So pretty much this tells me that I have a normal appetite, and I don't have a massive risk of obesity, and 35% of this population shares my results. So this is my one. I can then have a quick squeeze, but it tells me that this is not my result at all the other ones to see like what the other options are, you know, so you can kind of compare yourself to what these other gene types would be. So pretty much I have a normal appetite. I don't have a massive risk of obesity. I think I knew that about myself already. So that's that one. Body size and weight regain. So this is telling you how easily you will regain weight once you've lost it. So as you can see, I'm orange here, so I'm less favourable. I'm not least favourable though, which would be this one over here. So an increased chance versus a normal chance is most favourable. So 38% of the population share this result with me. I have a moderate chance of having a higher BMI over here. We hate BMI because it doesn't really take into account muscle mass in comparison to fat mass. So it doesn't tell us how much of that mass is muscle versus fat. It just tells you whether you're heavy or light, pretty much. And I have quite a lot of muscle mass for my body size, so it actually tells me that I am of a higher BMI than what I am in terms of fat to muscle ratio, if that makes sense. Anyway, moving on. So this is telling me that I can lose weight and I can keep it off, but there is a small chance that it will go back on over time if I'm not conscious with it. So it's telling me just make sure you maintain your exercise and you're conscious of how much food that you're eating, and you will keep that weight off. So the next gene we're going to have a look at is my fat storage gene. So obviously I'm green here, so good to go. So I've got moderate storage of fat, which only 18% of the population shares, which I thought was quite an interesting result. I thought moderate fat storage, most people would be like that genetic-wise, but apparently not. Apparently 80% share this result, which is likely to have a higher BMI, and there's a high risk of type 2 diabetes which comes along with that. Yeah, just interesting fun facts, but back to mine. So moderate fat storage. So this is a little bit counterproductive to the other gene that I had up here, which said I have an increased chance of, I guess, increasing my BMI and regaining weight that I may have lost. This one then says that I'm more likely to have a lower BMI. So maybe that balances it out for me in being that I don't really have a higher BMI, but I also do everything that it says here. I have a less intake of fat in my macros that I eat each day, and I easily hit this 30 minutes of moderate aerobic activity 5 days a week. So yeah, as a result, genetically, I'm only supposed to store a moderate amount of fat. Moving on now to the last one, to do with fat storage and obesity. So this is about how well you burn fat. So obviously I'm amber here, so orange. So I'm at a lesser than ideal result. So I'm not your typical fat burner, which is what only 8% of the population is, which is also surprising to me. But I'm a low fat burner. I'm not terrible. I'm not the lowest fat burning. I burn some fat, but probably not as optimally genetic-wise as I could. So this does increase your chance of obesity. So for me, I guess I'm like back and forward as to yes, high BMI, no, low BMI, blah, 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 all over the place, which probably makes me pretty level as a human. So that's all my weight carrying and fat burning ones. And the last couple here are to do with your lipid profile. So this tends to be like the amount of fats that you have floating around in your blood, and pretty much your cholesterol levels as well. So I don't really understand these ones as much. I'd get a health practitioner to talk to me about these, but pretty much what I've taken away is that I have pretty low chances of having high cholesterol and high lipid profile. So that's your LDLs and your HDLs, which often come up in blood tests as well. So I have a couple of oranges and a green. So I'm taking that away as pretty low chances of high triglyceride levels within my blood. So I'm not overly concerned. All right, so the next report we're going to have a look at here is the fitness report. So pretty much this report just tells you your balance between a power versus an endurance athlete, your stamina, so your aerobic capacity, and how prone you are to injury and how quickly you recover. So just having a look at the quick dashboard here. What was very surprising for me, knowing my background as a distance swimmer, is that I'm quite a mix genetically of power versus endurance within my DNA. So my muscle fibers have the ability to adapt to whatever kind of sport that I'm putting them into, which is great to know now that I'm transitioning into doing a little bit more CrossFit and away from the endurance stuff as much. But pretty much, yeah, I'm 53% endurance athlete and 47% a power athlete. So with the right training, as it says here, I can be adapted to both power sports and to endurance sports. So, maybe I'll become a powerlifter yet. Stamina, as I kind of could have predicted myself, my aerobic fitness is pretty naturally high. Prone to injury, I was surprised at this one. So it'll go into more detail when I show you the results, but there are some particular types of injuries that I'm very prone to. But overall, the rate of injury that it predicts that I have is a lot higher than what I think it is. When I do tend to get injured, I do a really good job and I write myself out for a couple of months, but I'm not the type of person to get a heap of musculoskeletal damage. So I don't tear muscle fibers, I don't tear ligaments, touch wood too much, but when I do an injury, I do a real good injury. And that will be explained a little bit more coming up here. And then how quickly do you recover? I was a little bit surprised with this one as well. I kind of felt that I recovered pretty quickly. I don't get soreness that often, but when I do, I get it real good. And I'm a second day DOMS type person as well. So generally like the morning of the second day is when I'm at my worst, and then by the end of the second day I'm pretty good. So yeah, I thought I would be a little bit closer to the faster side than standard in the middle here. But let's go have a look at the result. All right, so muscle power. This one surprised me because I don't consider myself to be a super powerful person, but apparently I'm big power. So what is ideal or perceived to be ideal amongst the population? So it's saying that when I train my muscles in a power setting, they adapt really well to that high intensity exercise. Telling me that I should be most suited to high intensity training, so sprinting, jumping, all things like that, which I love, I'm not going to lie, but oh well, interesting to know. Next one from here is muscle strength, and this one doesn't surprise me that I'm not I don't have increased muscle strength, and the difference between these two is just the gene type, I think. So I've got TT versus this one is CT, so it's the type of gene, versus increased muscle strength is obviously desirable here. So I've got normal muscle strength, which only 35% of the population have, and muscle energy. So I think this has more to do with endurance and aerobic capacity as well, which I'm not surprised. For me, it's green. I can tend to go forever. So this lower intensity stuff, I can go forever, and then the high intensity stuff, I'm good at fueling both of those. So I have ideal energy within my muscles. And the last one is endurance. So we knew that with me, I have a lot of endurance. So naturally high in aerobic fitness, no surprises there. Interesting that 7 out of 10 elite endurance athletes have this genetic profile. Only 7 out of 10 elite endurance athletes. Controversial. Anyway, so then we're going to move on to risk of injury. So this is the one that I found really interesting for me. This is, out of all of my results, the only one that is least favourable out of all the results that I got. And so this is a type of injury that's specifically related to collagen structures. So they're things like your meniscus in your knees, specifically tendons, and all of the collagen structures within your body. So for me, I've had 3 major injuries in my life. The first one was stress fractures in my spine, which was when I was growing up and I was doing too much sport, and I was a developing teenager, so couldn't do much about that at the time. The other 2, I've torn the meniscus in my knee, and I've torn the little meniscus that people don't really know about within your wrist. So interesting that both of those 2 injuries are collagen structures. And this one is just your general injury risk. So this is looking more at your soft tissue, your joint capsules and your ligaments. And it's saying that I have a normal risk, not reduced risk, which is optimal, but only 4% of the population have that. I have the normal risk and this specific gene rather than this specific gene. Both of them are less desirable. It recommends that you do proper warm-up, proper stretching, things like that to help look after it. So that's that one though. The last one here is recovery time. And like I said, I thought I was okay at recovery. Turns out I'm not great. I'm the same as 45% of the population, so I'm a moderate recoverer. So yeah, so that's the fitness result. So this, you can then go on and create your own fitness plan, which is more of a Globo gym kind of style plan with some leg press and some seated dumbbell stuff and things like that, and then a little bit of HIIT training as well. So it's not functional fitness, but for people who have no idea what they need to do in terms of getting the body fit and healthy, it's a good start. So yeah, that's the fitness test that we've done. So the last report that we have here is the caffeine report. I do drink coffee. I'm not a great sleeper, so I am very mindful of the time that I have coffee, and I've always personally tried to not have it after 3 p.m. because I've thought that has affected my sleep, and this just kind of confirms that. So pretty much this has given us an overview of how quickly I metabolize caffeine. That's how quickly can I break it down and get it back out of my system. And I'm fast, which surprises me a little bit. I kind of thought that I was a little bit slower, but that's all right. Here we go. How anxious do I get from coffee? Like, how much does it get me amped up? I'm pretty much halfway in the middle, which I kind of agree with as well. Like, I don't often feel jitters, but sometimes it just makes me a little bit more alert. How long can I feel the effects for? So 4 to 6 hours for me. I don't really ever feel like caffeine wearing off. So I guess that's about right. It's like half a day. Kind of if I've had it in the morning, it lasts me through until about mid-afternoon. How long can you drink coffee before going to sleep? So it's telling me I can have it, my last cup of coffee, 5 hours before going to sleep. So, I mean, I said that I stopped at 3 p.m. I couldn't have anything after 3 p.m. And this is saying I tend to go to bed at 9. So this is saying 4 p.m. So it's pretty spot on about that anyway. So 5 hours before bed. And then how likely would it disrupt my sleep? If I did have it after that 5 hours before going to bed, I can expect some sleep disturbance if I have it, after those 5 hours before going to bed. I'm not really sure what it means by induction. I think this means if you can take some sort of supplement to help you speed up the metabolism of caffeine, but apparently my body doesn't adapt well to whatever that is. So yeah, that's the caffeine report. So that's all the 3 reports. Like I said, I just did this for Intrastate to see what kind of results it would give you. And I've learned a couple of things about myself that I probably need to pay more attention to my recovery and injury prevention. I guess I've considered myself to be pretty lucky with that in the past, and I've thought I was quite a flexible person, but I guess many years of dancing and gymnastics have probably helped with that flexibility, and had I not have done that growing up as a kid, I probably would have been in a worse off position now. So thanks, Mum and Dad, for putting me in dancing for so long. The nutrition stuff was pretty much what I already knew, but I've done a lot of work with Kim in terms of getting my nutrition right anyway. So we've done a bit of trial and error and kind of built up to the macros that I'm on now. And then caffeine, just good to know when I really should be cutting off on the coffee throughout the day so that it really doesn't affect my sleep, because like I said, I'm not a great sleeper. So anything that I can do to try and help myself with that is something I need to consider. If you have any questions, guys, about this test and how I went about doing it and things like that, shout out.